What is up, everybody? Long time no see. It's nice to say that we are not familiar with the game called the Cocoon. It's the geometric interactive debut game. Quite simple, the biggest triumph for a Danish developer since Inside. Given the success of Limbo and especially Inside, it's not surprising that the time is ripe for the new project from Playdead alumni to see the light of day. Last autumn, it was Dino Pati's Somerville, and now Jeppe Carlsen studio Geometric Interactive is ready with their debut game, Cocooned. But whereas Somerville stayed relatively close to the Playdead formula, Cocooned is much more its own distinctive creature. Which the legacy of the Playdead is present, and the influence of Portal and classic 2D Zelda titles in particular can be felt. It would be unfair to dwell too much of the source of inspiration, because with its consistent visual expression, deeply evocative sound design, and not least exuberantly original gameplay, Cocoon is a very rare experience. As mentioned, several leading people from the Geometric Interactive has a past at Playdead. Director Jeppe Carlsen, for example, was the lead gameplay designer on both the Limbo and the Inside. And almost from the first screen you realize that the gameplay is more central to the experience than in those two games. Actually, the premises of the game is simple, but once you dive into the possibilities it brings, it's still breathtaking in Cocoon. You control a little insect-like explorer throughout as an overworld and a series of dungeons very similar to classic Zelda titles like A Link to the Past. So far, so good. The twist is that all dungeons exist in a perfectly formed sphere that you can carry on your back and even bring their other dungeons. And why would I do that, you might be thinking? Well, each orb has an ability that activates when you put in your bag. For example, your first orb can form bridges in certain places, another gives you the ability to change the shape of the certain material so that it's either solid or liquid, while the third gives you the ability to fire shots that can activate otherwise inaccessible switches and the like. So it's all about choosing the right bullet ability to right situation, which is fairly straightforward when you only have one, but becomes downright mind-bending towards the end, especially as some of the more complicated puzzles require you to start an almost domino-like sequence throughout the multiple words. It could be a shot that needs to travel from one word to another to activate the ability that changes the shape of material, allowing you to fall through it, reach the point where you need to form a bridge with the ability from sphere you back. It may sound overwhelming, but in practice, I never felt overwhelmed, which is mainly due to three things. First, the introduction to the concept of the words within the words is done at the leisurely pace. And each time you get a new ability, Geometric Interactive makes sure to give time to get comfortable with. In addition, the rules of what you can go and what you can't do in the world of Cocoon are rarely clearly defined. And finally, the game details and delines you playing space by closing doors behind you, so you're never left in a doubt as to where the key to the solution in the remaining rooms. This creates the perfect basis for going all out as the game progresses. Towards the end of the game, there were several times when I nearly dropped my jaw at the mind-expanding yet deeply logical puzzles. I almost knew what to do, just not how to do it. And when the eureka moments came, they almost always turned out to be right, and absolutely essentially quality for a good puzzle game. But Cocoon is more than just its puzzles. Audio-visually, it's also in a class of its own. The graphical style is sharply down with its distinct words, each built around a clearly defined color palette. It's a long way from the orange rocky landscapes that opens the game to the cold metallic overworld. But Geometric Interactive Erwin Howe still managed to tie all together in a satisfying way. At the same time, the easily recognizable words serve the gameplay, as they make it much easier to navigate quickly from the word to word and remember which ability belongs to which word. The real connective tissue, however, is the soundtrack, which, with its ominous and 3-minute synths and alienating sounds effects, creates a hugely atmospheric soundscape. The music is not recorded, but it's generating in a time by programming synthesis, which means there are no repetition. just an end stream of atmospheric tones, which is the huge advantage when you're trying to solve the next mind-bending puzzle. The sound effects for the part are cleared with the synthesis, which means that every sound, whenever it's hum or marshland or rushing wind on the mountain peaks, has a sense of something alien, something not of this planet. And the feeling of something completely alien is quality that the Cocoon presents and updoes. The enigmatic story that takes your character on a cosmic journey, what exactly happens it's not easy to decipher yet. I felt drawn to unravel the mystery. The places you visit and creates you encounter are similar figure to it, caught as they are in the intersection between the organic and the mechanical. Nowhere is more evident that the bosses that occasionally take a game in a more action-packed direction, clearly inspired by Zelda, the diverse and enormous insect-like creatures are exercised in combining cleverness and precision. First locate the Achilles heel and then up to acquire motor skills to ensure the victory. It's classic approach to boss fights, but in Cocoon many of the battles are actually challenging, even if you figured out the boss of weakness. This is not the less due to the fact at the slightest touch, you are thrown out by the word the boss itself. But this may sound frustrating, but because of the challenge is fair, the controls are sharp, and the option to jump straight back is the boss available, it never really is. Instead, the bosses are natural crescendos that briefly raise your heart rate and make you sweat. Several of them are extremely introducing new mechanics are unique to the particular battle. This is immersive itself, and even better works flawlessly and feels satisfying. In one late boss fight in particular, the introduction battle area and the central premise come together to create one of the most memorable duels that I had the pleasure of emerging victorious from the recent years. Few games have fascinated me the way Cocooned does, and its metric atmosphere and really distorting challenges. It's an alien among the Earth peers, and even when it draws classic series like The Legends of Zelda, it twists the concepts we know so well, such as requiring you to delightfully travel between the worlds in a split second. Some games mesmerize you with their breadth and almost a hubristic level of ambition. Cocoon does the perfectly executing its tight focus, just its role model Portal did twice more than a decade ago. About the cons, so sometimes it's little too much traveling time when testing the solutions.